You don't have a national spirit. You don't think in the superior interest of the nation. I'll always blame you for that. You're defending private interests. The French people are aware of that. The problem is behind that. There's a lot of hardship at Whirlpool. There are companies that are offshoring. And it's not an anecdote, Mr. Macron. These are companies that you've sold. SFR, for example, to your friend Mr. Draghi, the head of BFM. 6,000 jobs lost.
For 3 minutes, Madame Le Pen has been explaining her strategy for fighting unemployment in France. There isn't one. Your strategy...
I've given you everything. I've told you everything you haven't done.
Madame Le Pen, what's extraordinary is that your strategy, and it's normal, for decades this has been going on, your strategy is quite simply to lie a lot and to list all the difficulties and problems of the country, but you don't propose anything. If you had observed what has happened in recent years, the charges paid by the tax credit for competitiveness benefits
very well,
all
small
companies.
businesses didn't benefit from that.
That's why in my project I propose to cut the charges which are paid by small and medium-sized enterprises. I want to cut corporation tax.
All companies, including for the large companies, whereas I give total priority to small businesses. They're the ones that create jobs. You're making life easier for big business again. It's normal, they're your friends, where you have drinks at La Rotonde.
The French deserve better than this. They deserve the truth, not insinuations. You say you are very well informed. You know reality is very... I was not a minister when SFR was sold, and it belonged to a totally private
company. Oh, really?
Company.
You weren't minister? You told that lie in front of 10,000 people at the debate we had. When that question was asked of you, of course you were minister. You were leading all these issues. And what Mr. Montebourg refused for SFR be sold to Mr. Draghi, the day Mr. Montebourg was replaced by you, Mr. Macron, well, immediately you signed the deed of sale. That's the truth.
Mrs. Le Pen, SFR belonged to a private group called Vivendi. We are in the state where we respect private property. It's the Vivendi group that sold SFR. So you're making a lot of mistakes. You have been... and it doesn't help the country to move on. Nobody wanted to sell SFR. When you have a private group which is owned by private capital, look in your files.
Yes, I'll find that for you immediately.
I know the files
January
very well.
2015, before Parliament. I took the decision for Alstom. You said to Mr. Dupont-Aignan, it's not me. January 2015, before Parliament, I have the decision to allow G to take a stake in Alstom. I personally.
Mrs. Le Pen, you're not talking about the same subject. You're talking about General Electric and Alstom.
The day after Mr. Montebourg left, you granted, whereas they were receiving the sale of SFR. That's the reality. Why don't you just accept it? Accept it. That's what you do best, to break up companies and do M&A. You can do that very well. There's no difficulty.
You're reading a file that does not correspond to the case we were discussing, which shows that you are not well prepared.
Sold against the interests of France.
General Electric Alstom, Mr. Montebourg fought very hard. We can look at the details of the file as you are mixing the different files up. One is SFR is in telephony, and the other one makes turbines and industrial equipment. It isn't the same sector. You're mixing the two sectors.
You can sell everything. The only problem is that you can sell everything, but not to the benefit of the national interest.